What's going on, everybody? This is Chris Kay of the Burning the Red Shirt podcast. No Zach today. We have Andrew here with us, and we have a special guest. First and probably last time we will have a guest. It is the lead college football, and are you also lead NFL draft analyst for NBC Sports? You got both of them down?
Yes, at this point, believe it or not, I am the only human being in the mothership of NBC Sports, Stamford, Connecticut, that has anything to do with college football. So yes, by default, I am the lead NFL draft analyst for NBC
That's awesome.
Sports. That's correct.
Eric Froton, everybody. So we're super excited to have him on. The reason why we have Eric, aka Froton, here is because we've been talking a little bit 2023 in the last couple of weeks. We wanted to keep it going, and what we did was the three of us, with also the grumpiest man in college fantasy football, Mike Bainbridge, did a 3-round mock draft, 36 picks. We kind of just did 3 each in a round, and we wanted to talk about it today, just, BS about all the different players. So I guess I'll kick it to you, Andrew, to start here.
Hold on, before we start doing this. So you mentioned that tomorrow's like the first day or whatever. You don't have an NBC show on a weekly cadence in so long. So let's bring you back into your day job world just for a second, because I don't understand why is Navy favored tomorrow over Army? Is there something I'm missing?
I'm not particularly sure about that. Maybe and Andre Carter, being a first round pick, has he said he's going to be out or not yet? I assume he probably will skip the game, but maybe he won't. That could be a factor. But yeah, absolutely. It's death, taxes, and service academy unders here in America, because I think it's 13-1 that they've been in the past few. Do you think that trend breaks?
Vegas is they're starting to bring those unders down to like Kentucky, Iowa level, right? It's like 30,
right.
It's like 30 and change for the over under. So I'm not going to mess around with that. But to some, I was looking back at recent Service Academy box just scores when I was like, I wanted to understand, like, is my brain calibrated correctly in terms of thinking that Army is like, are they still the better team than Navy? Because that was where my mind was at, and just like box score scouting, it still feels that way. Like Navy, yeah, they beat UCF and a hobble JRP, but they've been awful all year. And Army, even though they've got a bunch of losses, they lost to Troy by a point, they lost to Coastal during their peak right early on in the year. So Army still feels good, but at the same time, so looking at the actual, like, the way the Commander-in-Chief trophies played out, it feels almost to me like you could just correlate when two service academies get together to almost like an all-star game in a sport where it's a coin flip. Like, regardless of how good these teams are, like what's going to play out in terms of one being a favorite versus the other. So I don't know. From that perspective, it's always weird to me when you see in an all-star game that one team is actually favored. Like, what does that even mean? Like, why would one team be favored over another in an all-star game? And that, in conjunction with Army just generally being, I think they're better than Navy. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't take, if you're insistent on betting that game, I would think that taking Army plus 2.5 is like, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't take that.
Absolutely. And the thing is about Army, all kidding aside, get into the game. You look at 5 of their last 6 games, and they've been awesome. They've been very, very good. And the game that you reference against Troy, first off, Troy just won the Sun Belt. John Sumrall comes in year 1. And my gosh, we expected, I guess, a little bit more of a heavy run script, which didn't materialize until Kamani Vidal Sassoon started getting 30 carries at the end of the season and going buck wild with 200-yard games. I didn't see that coming. Bainbridge, I guess that is our surly friend Bainbridge's posthumous, it didn't happen until week 12, but it happened. Props to Mike. But, God, you can't say enough about that Troy team. The defense, I believe it was 6th ranked when I had capped them last week in terms of overall pass defense. My God, everything about that team has been incredible. The point is, that's a great Troy team. That's a double-digit win team. And Army had a 99% win expectancy that everything had to go wrong for them to dump that game. And if you look at 5 of their last 6, they've had at least a 75% win expectancy in 5 of those 6 games. All right. And we're talking about pretty good opponents here. Air Force. Connecticut is a much better team than they were at this point. Jim Moore has done a great job with them. Troy, as mentioned. ULM, not so great. But when they've played non-Power 5 teams, Army's look great. I completely agree with you, Katz, on the Army side. The only thing that really gives me any hesitation is that they don't stop the run very well. Like they're better against the pass this year. I mean, obviously, when you have Andre Carter bringing heat from the edge, that's going to happen. But I don't like 117th against the rush. That gives me that's the only thing that gives me pause against Navy. But all my other factors are saying go Golden Knights.
Nice, let's do it. I'll play Sped after the show.
What did Adrian? What did you think of doing the actual mock? Going to the 2023 mock that we did. 3 rounds, 36 picks. Like, just generally speaking, how hard was it to do? Did you feel like you're an idiot at times?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember exactly when we did this, right? So it was right before Transfer Mania kind of started out, and it's so funny that some of like a decent ratio of our picks already looks so dumb in hindsight. But I mean, I definitely didn't want to draft some players just because I didn't want to set a bar for where they're going to go, and I would like to kind of take advantage of that later on. So
are you worried about setting the draft ADP too high for some guys you love already?
Yeah, of course.
That feels like an Andrew thing. Yeah, and for context, Andrew's right. We did this about 10 days ago, so like the week after Thanksgiving. It was pre-portal. I think we have 3 or 4 guys drafted that are now.
You think I would really?
Several. Oh, I have 3 or 4.
Will Rogers. I would never draft Will Rogers in a million years. That was 100% gamesmanship. in our theoretical draft.
Well, did we specify if this is 4 or 6 point per passing touchdown? That's a big factor.
I didn't want to get, with Mike being so grumpy, I didn't want to get too rollsy here. So I just wanted to go with the flow a little bit to help him out.
Mike couldn't wait for the end of the season. He definitely couldn't wait. Well, I mean, in his defense, he does write up literally every single, DFS. Everything. But bless Mike Bainbridge. He's a wonderful resource, as is BTR.
Yeah. I think Mike's probably the hardest or closest to the hardest working man in CFF. But let's talk. I will break down, or I will speak out the top 12 picks, and then let's get initial reactions. So first one being Caleb Williams, the quarterback, obviously, then Drake May, Marvin Harrison, the first receiver off the board. Then we had a string of running backs: Braylon Allen, Quinshawn Judkins, Mayan Williams, Keaton Mitchell, Raheem Sanders. That takes us to pick 8. Then we went Austin Reed, the quarterback, who's now in the portal. Travion Henderson went 10th. Will Shipley, 11. And Emeka Egbuka, 12. Your boy, Froton.
So apparently it's Kay's boy. Apparently he's Kay's boys now, because I figured, I can wait on Egbuka here because he's my guy. No one else loves him like I do. But I was wrong.
Get mad at Adrian. I mean, he took
the market.
So I guess initial thought, right? Were you surprised by any of the first rounders?
I think it's interesting that when we draft early like this, there's only really 2 ways that I think guys get into the draft board when we're doing just like a top 36 or something like that. It's guys that have proven it on the field, or the C's are projected apart to allow for them to ascend within the CFB landscape, right? So if we think about what has started to take place and what is going to continue to take place in the coming weeks, the coming months, between guys transferring out, guys transferring in, guys declaring for the draft, weird, dumb shit happening, coaching hires happening, draft depth charts shaking out, guys leaving teams, all that stuff. Like, there's no way that we could even begin to try and give consideration to how that's going to shake down. So when you see when we talk about our 3-round 36 player draft board right now, first of all, it's already so stale, just in the sense that like so much ridiculous stuff has already happened in the last week. But second of all, the names are of course going to be so familiar because we're like, if we were to actually put money to this. Like, how could you realistically try and project anyone other than someone who is kind of already a super contributor, or we expect to ascend into something of a proven system, or it just comes from an unbelievable recruiting profile. So the mold, the build for the type of player that would be a part of this this exercise is just it's very defined, I think.
Known quantities.
Exactly.
Yes.
Proven. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And you see some different strategies, even right out of the gate. Something that I did, at least in the offseason best balls, to varying degrees of effect, is trying to coalesce around wide receiver rooms, such as obviously Ohio State, where I was a big proponent of taking Igbokwe because I felt like he had the skill set to be able to emerge. And we see number 3 wide receivers, or perceived number 3 wide receivers in Alabama, Ohio State. The high profile, prolific offenses often ascend to the primary or secondary roles. And what I'm getting to here is you see Mike early on here. 2 of his, literally his first 3 picks, Mayan Williams went at 1-6, and then he immediately went and took Trevion Henderson at the 110 pick. All right, so he's playing the portal here. He's saying, all right, obviously I don't think I'm going to get both these guys. I think one of them's going, probably Mayan Williams. I'd be interested to hear Mr. Katz's thoughts, since he did bullseye Trevion last year. And that was certainly a great hit on his part, in terms of just the draft leagues, the single season leagues. But it looks like he's playing the odds here, but he's paying the price to do so with these high end backs. Like, if he could do it over again, would either of us honestly do that? 2 of the top 10 picks on Ohio State running backs. I understand we're playing the portal, but look at the uncertainty with taking that sort of a route. High risk, high reward.
Yeah, and for context, we just took out a bunch of dudes. We just assumed, Blake Corum, Deuce Vaughn, Dwayne McBride, all these different guys who have announced or not, are all not in the draft pool. So, there is a possibility that a few of these guys, like a Mayan Williams, leaves, but there's also options, obviously. We just wanted to keep it a little bit easier on us. But you're right, Froton. I think Mayan and Trevion, one of them has to leave, whether that's NFL or portal or whatever, to really make that make sense. And I'm guessing Mike probably wasn't thinking that each pick was going to be created to his own team, rather just creating a sort of ADP in a sense.
Sure,
but
yeah.
If you're valuing, you can't possibly value those 2 together at Ohio State. So it'll be really interesting to see what Mayan does or Trevion does before the offseason is over.
Do you want to run down the top 12?
The top 12?
Yeah.
Did you?
He blacked out. The top 12, yeah. So, I already did it, but it was Caleb, Drake, Martin.
Katz, how is it 10 a.m. here? It's in the West Coast. We saw what my pregame routine was. How am I the one who forgets the top 12, my brother? I'm having fun with you.
I think Andrew.
I loved Raheem Sanders, by the way. I was going to take him if you didn't.
I was appealing to your inner draft analyst.
I'm curious if we see guys like Keaton Mitchell and Raheem Sanders move down a little bit when offseason shakes out and it's February, March, April. That feels more like, and I took Keaton Mitchell at the 7th pick, but that feels like one of those situations where we know what we're getting out of them. They're going to be at where they are, which is a good place. So we just figured, their production was awesome anyways, and they're incredibly talented, but I'm curious to see if they'll be in that same range by March, April.
I have a absolute crush on Raheem Sanders. I hate myself for not having more shares of him when he was a freshman in Dynasty. And I cannot believe the violence and the power and speed combo he has out of Arkansas. I would give it to him 25 times a game. Oh my God, is he great.
You know who should get it 25 times a game but doesn't is Will Shipley.
Well, he needs 25 times a game with the efficiency ratings that he has. He's not. Will Shipley compared to Raheem Sanders? It's not even close. It's not even close. And I'm wearing a Clemson jersey. I got Nuke on right now. I'm channeling DeAndre Hopkins here on the BTR podcast. No
How
way.
many carries would he have needed
way.
to hit his 93.5-yard rushing prop last week? What the fuck was that, man? Not like I had too much money on that prop. It felt nice. UNC.
I get it. It all makes sense. It all makes sense, doesn't it? They're killing UNC too. Killing them. Destroying them. The game is over at halftime. It's like 39-10, right? Yeah. No. It's just I am not a Will Shipley guy. I can't believe he's as high as he is rated just in terms of NFL draft stock and such. And I see him as a volume-based back. I like when Maffa comes in behind him for NFL draft purposes. I think he makes him look better. Maffa looks like he's more powerful. You know, he's just as good in terms of vision. Like, I'm not impressed by Shipley's vision. He's 205. Yeah. He's not big. It's not like he's 215, 220. Like, he's going to be – I just don't see him as projectable as a lot of people do. So that's probably my one pick that I don't like as much here.
I was obsessed with him coming into Clemson. I was like, this dude is going to like do all the CMC things. He's going to catch a zillion passes, be shifty as fuck, and like get volume too. And like even as a freshman, when he got on the field super early, and I don't know, it just felt like it just was never as impressive as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, maybe that changes next year. I mean, look, he's in the spot. It's his spot. And we're talking about CFF here. So in terms of projectability, he's an every week starter. You're not going to bust unless he gets, injured. But like, if he's in the lineup, he's going to be able to give you 15 at least. He's going to get volume. So half the battle is getting that volume and being behind an offensive line like Clemson and wants to maul people anyways. So
yeah, and I wonder if their offense will be better with DJ gone. It looked like it would be better for sure. And he's probably another one of those guys that falls for sure in April. But second round picks, Carson Steele, the running back who's in the portal. What it is, we can talk about that one here. Is don't do it, Froton. Wait, give me a second. Dante Cephas, the Kent State receiver, Damian Martinez of Oregon State, a couple of receivers back to back, Malachi Corley and Xavier Worthy. Then we went a couple of running backs, Javante Barnes and Trey Benson. Some interesting picks. Then Dorian Singer, the receiver, Rasheen Ali, Jaden Daniels, Donovan Edwards, and Devin Neal. So let's start with Steele. What an interesting portal decision from Carson Steele. Froton, you're the lead draft guy. Is he actually good, or is he a volume back? Then that's why he's productive.
Oh, from an NFL draft standpoint? No, come on. Oh, God, I mean. He's like I would say a poor man's Toby Gerhart, in my estimation, would be just off the top of my head. But who doesn't love watching a guy with flowing hair, blonde, like myself, out there carrying the rock in Maction, just bowling people over with 30 carries a game. I mean, that's why we all know college football is better than pro football. It just is. We all know this. It's wall-to-wall action every Saturday. Yet it's November, and it's every night of the week that you are getting Maction, or you're getting the Sun Belt. You're getting everything. So I loved him at Ball State. We'll see where he lands. But look, I mean, redrawing the lines here, if we're doing this over, I think the uncertainty means he falls. He ends up at what? Maybe at Purdue? Who knows? He tries to be the next Xander Horvath? Okay. We'll see. It's all about landing spot, but I would say he takes a hit here, Steele.
Yeah. I'm really curious where he ends up landing. It feels like he's going to go to like a lower level Big Ten type, like an Indiana, Illinois, Purdue type, but none of them are going to seem all that appealing. Maybe Illinois, but I think the higher level of competition would be a little difficult. Andrew, do you have any Steele thoughts, or maybe anybody else from the second round that
you said it all? You said it all for Steele. So how many guys from this set of 12 are in the portal presently? It's 3, right? It's Steele, Cephas, Singer.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Of the remaining 9, who's the next one to enter the portal? Is it Corley? Is it Rasheen Ali? Those are probably
Corley's in the portal.
Is he? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. My bad.
Yep. So it's actually 4.
That was ages ago.
Yeah.
Feels like ages ago, yeah.
It's 8 days.
Worthy seemed to be close to the portal, then he got sucked back in Austin.
God,
I don't know if anybody else from this list hits the portal. Maybe Rasheen Ali, but I think what's his name, Laybourne, is done. I think his eligibility after 12 years, they said it enough.
Nah, he's got another year, bro. You know. Did you see Benson coming back?
Sorry, who?
Trey Benson. He said on Twitter that he's coming back.
Sweet. That's good for him because it's the first year he's actually seen the field.
Yeah, he looked so good down the stretch.
Absolutely. Build that stock. I mean, he would definitely, I think, probably 4th round draft capital as is. And that's with a limited amount of really, pretty much the second half. You give him a full season. Absolutely. And good for Florida State. What a a nice rise. There, as we all know, their offensive line during the Cam Akers era was a national laughingstock. I don't think that's even an overstatement. I think it was a laughingstock. And to see where they've come, like their line, if you look at the DVOA stuff, excellent this year. Props to Florida State and props to Norvell. I think they got most of the guys coming back. Travis is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going to run it. They could be a force in the ACC. Who says they can't?
Yeah, that'll be a good team. Was certainly surprised by Benson blowing up so much. They have 3 good backs.
I was going to say, going into next year, are you afraid at all that it devolves back into a committee at all, or is it just going to be Benson wheels up?
I think Tuafili is really an interesting player, but he seems a little bit more role based. I would be worried about Trayshawn Ward. Is he returns as well, right? Unless he goes to the portal.
Yes, I would think there aren't many 3-man dances anymore that are sitting around and just allowing all 3 of them to be stagnant in the portal era. So I would think they got 45 days in the initial period. So you could either see them in late January pop, or hey, look, you have another transfer period after spring ball. You could see how everything shakes out. Toafili is smaller, but we've seen him. He's dynamic. He could be content with a role. Maybe you see Trayshawn Ward, who was a less heralded recruit, and kind of made good, above and beyond expectations, go and move on. I think that would probably be the best role for him and for Florida State, having that nice thunder and lightning combo. But we'll see. I did want to say one thing.
Okay, fine.
Xavier Worthy. I couldn't pick him this year. If there was one guy out of all my props all year, when I thought he would go under, he went over. When I thought he'd go over, he went under. What are you, Xavier Worthy? He's streaking down the field, buck naked when I take his unders, or excuse me, when I take his overs, and Quinn Ewers won't hit him, and then he'll make magical, incredible catches when I take his unders. So I could not figure him out this year. I expended a pretty good amount of CFF draft capital in our preseason stuff on Worthy. I was a believer. I don't think he had a single 100-yard game all season. I don't think he had one. I might be wrong. He might have had one, but it wasn't 2. I'll tell you that much. Very, very disappointing. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to take him again after he hurt me before. But I understand. He will probably pop now.
I want to control the next 2 topics. So
go. You got it.
You brought up props, Froton. So the thing that I'm so excited about with bowl season is that we get so much of the same vibe as week 1 of the CFB season from the perspective of information and paying dividends, and the kind of getting it out of it, what you put in and stuff like that. Like week 1 was my best week of the year for DFS, for everything, for betting, for props, because we did, like so many of us, we did so much research, and it pays off, right? Because we're ahead of the books.
And the season-long props as well were excellent. I know everybody cleaned up on Prize Picks, all of us. Yeah,
bowl season's like an elongated week 1 in a lot of ways. We get it spread out over such a period of time, but it's the same thing, I think, and which is like it's so exciting because that you get the chance to play that out and turn your money over so many times potentially. But I'm interested in how it's going to actually play out in terms of the markets, in the sense that, like, okay, if we just destroy the prop market because with they put up props, and we're finding out guys are opting out, and we take advantage of that like minutes and hours before the game start, right? Like, is it gonna be something where they just stop putting up props for after the first few bowls or something? Because that's how it's gonna play out, right? We learned so much information in the last couple of days leading up to bowl games about a lot of these teams at a player level, and we can take advantage of it, right? But I wonder how the markets will end up reflecting that after the first few slates.
Well, you've seen all year how reactive the markets are just in general. And that's, you see generally FanDuel has been setting the marketplace. They've been putting out stuff first, and DraftKings, while at the beginning of the season, you'd see them putting out Wednesday. It was the trickle effect they tried. So they tried, okay, we'll put some games out on Wednesday. We'll put a pretty good solid slate out on Thursday, and then we'll dump all the rest on Friday and catch the late games on Saturday morning. And then it's sort of whatever is settled has settled. They stopped doing that. They were getting killed on that in the preseason, in the early season, much like you mentioned, Andrew. And they've now just been letting FanDuel set the lines and waiting until Friday morning or Friday afternoon even to kind of put out fairly saturated lines. So I think you'll see that trend continue because that's what happened in just the overall college betting market. FanDuel is the market leader. They're the ones who put it all out first. Everyone else is following. And they put out if you're betting sides or over-unders, you should be literally waiting on FanDuel, hitting refresh every Sunday, waiting for when they're going to release their first lines because they fuck up every week and their stuff gets adjusted immediately. You'll see within those first 2 hours, it's like the bar graph charts of how it goes down. So I know you're going to see FanDuel put them out. They're going to put them out. It's an arms race. You have now 6 more states, I believe, have gone legal gambling-wise. We have 32 states where you can legally gamble now, adding Massachusetts. Like the entire Northeast is in. It's only going to continue. So it's a market share race. They want that market share, and a lot of those states start on January 1st. And the big betting events are the NFL playoffs, which will be coming up, but they're not even the season extended. So like the playoffs aren't even happening until mid-January now. It's not like it's right after the New Year. So that's going to be the first events of these big bowl games on the second, and the NFL games on the first for all these markets. They need a piece of it. They're going to give you a piece of it. We're going to have those games. I'm not really worried about them putting them out because of the market share factor, because it's an arms race. So you will see lines. I'm confident of it. Look at what we saw for the conference championship week 2. There was a fucking avalanche of lines and there was fewer games. So if they're willing to do that on conference championship week, which the lines they were better than last year, which they lined Spencer Petras, and it was the infamous Spencer Petras, Alex Padilla conundrum and money festival of 2022. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. But the lines have gotten sharper, full stop. They've stopped putting out horrific lines, but you still see a couple here and there. Mr. Katz, I know you've done some great work on that front with FanDuel, my friend. I want to give you some respect there. But our community, everybody's done a great job. Like the C2C guys, Moxley's great with this stuff. Andrew, you're exceptional. Mike's great. Myself, we're lucky to have a pretty good community of guys that are sharp, and we've been able to stay ahead of the books with these player prop stuff in a way that you don't see the old guard Vegas people being able to profit off of sides and over-unders. And it's just that simple. It's a dollars and cents thing. If you can bet one or the other, why aren't you doing that? And there's nobody better. I mean, some of the best in the world, YouTube, in all honesty. So, that's something I think you guys should continue to exploit and press, and people should continue to watch your podcast. You guys are great.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate that. Yeah, maybe one day Georgia will get betting. Maybe one day. American dream. Or maybe I'll just have to move to a border or something. Andrew, what else was the top of my...
It takes one state around you to get it, And then all the other states start seeing, oh, look at the revenue generation you're getting off of this. And then they all like, oh, all of these people are driving over the state lines to go and do it. And they're just going to this place and giving them money. And then you'll get it.
If Herschel had won, I think that was going to be his first announcement.
Oh no!
Football props, yes.
It actually makes a lot of sense for him, but you know.
Oh yeah, if he can, it's probably the one platform he can enunciate clearly.
All right, my second topic. So I don't think he went in our draft because I think we all assumed that he was out of eligibility. I believe incorrectly, but LaDamian Webb said he's coming back, right? Did I read that?
He did, yeah. I saw that yesterday.
So where he would definitely have gone if we all kind of made the assumption that was going to occur, right? He would have gone in the top 36, I would think. He was obscene this year.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't want him over like Javonte Barnes or Jaden Knott, Trayshawn Potts, Jace McClellan. Those are all guys I think that Webb would definitely be a good offense. They hammer him with it. Good player.
Still there, I think. Right.
So I think that's a great call out. Yeah. I think he might have. I want to say he might have another year, like 2 years. Crazy stuff. But he's got the one that's
ever really played.
Right. Let's wrap out the third round here, and then we can kind of ask some random stuff here. But Froton took the first tight end, Brock Bowers at 301. Then we had Torrey Horton, the receiver, Jaden Ott, Trayshawn Potts, Jace McClellan, all running backs there. Evan Stewart, the receiver, Oronde Gadsden from Syracuse, the receiver. Then Will Rogers, Luther Burden, Bahrain Morton, Kavorian Barnes, and Jordan Travis. Which one was the most surprising of those bunch, Froton? Anybody jump out?
The most surprising, maybe for me. Well, I mean, I guess a little surprising is Brock Bowers, since no one else took a tight end. I was the one who took a tight end. I thought we were putting a lineup together. I wanted Bowers, so it's all good. A couple things. One, look at all the freaking running backs we took. Because we didn't have any defined position limits. It was just a freaking running back parade all the way through up until like the very end. And I just strategy-wise, you saw the quarterbacks. We waited until the end. I took a different approach than you guys did, and going with Caleb Williams and Austin Reed early with my first 3 picks, where you guys waited. If I had to take one pick that I said is a little surprising, it would probably be Jaden Knott. Just for the sheer reasoning that he got a pretty good amount of volume this year. He's obviously a freshman. He's a little light, when I've seen him run. He had that huge game where he ran for almost like maybe over 300 yards. But then after that, he was still getting in the teens, 15, 16, 17 carries, but he wasn't hitting the same level. He wasn't excelling in the way that I was kind of hoping that he would. I guess I would rather have a upside shot, like if Trayshawn Potts is able to hold off the other, what's his name? The other Zach Evans, and get that full share. Well, we saw what Ibrahim was able to do this year, and he literally won Joe a couple of those CFF site best balls because he took Ibrahim so early. So it's like that, Kavorian Barnes, again, he looks like the guy at UTSA. What a great spot with everybody coming back, Frank Harris. So, and LaDamian Webb, I guess I'd probably prioritize those running backs who have a little bit higher upside than Ott. And that's not a shot at my friend Chris K with
it's okay. What a great point, though. 274 yards and 3 touchdowns against Arizona pretty early on, and he didn't break 100 after that. So his numbers look good overall, but when you look at the actual game by game, it is a little bit deceiving. I will say I love his passing game usage. Anytime you can get a running back with guaranteed 2-3 catches, it's always nice. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to ride him or give him a little bit more. But
there's no one else there. Damian Moore's in the portal now. So, I mean, it's the writing's on the wall. It's Jaden Knott's gig. It's just not so much an indictment on himself either. It's just what is the actual upside of the Cal offense too, with Justin Wilcox getting extended despite being just, so boring.
Well, they hired that fraud Spavital now.
Oh, that's right. I love you, Katz.
I saw this on Twitter. Go ahead, Andrew.
I
Tell me why
generally
he's a
try
fraud.
and not say negative things about people either in our space or within college football. But coaches are totally fair game, and it is such a strong conviction of mine that this dude has been riding his last name. Like his dad rolled around with some of those legendary coaches, so that definitely helped him from a launching pad perspective. And then where he has had success, he took over for Kingsbury at A&M, and would you even call the second Manziel season successful? I wouldn't. Like the offense regressed across the board, and then he went to West Virginia, and he's not doing anything with Holgerson running the show over there.
Correct. Yep.
And I don't know. I can't remember if he directly goes to Texas State after that, but
yep, direct. I'm pretty sure.
What a disaster to be in Texas and decide I'm going to ignore this the most fertile recruiting ground in the country across the board. I'm going to ignore Texas high school football as one of the 6 or 7 FBS coaches in that state and just go concentrate exclusively on transfers. I don't even know what his offense is supposed to be. Like he has like the air raid attribute or tag or whatever, but it's never that. He sucks.
Yeah, name like a relevant Texas State Bobcat that had any sort of sustained, production over the past few years for CFF purposes, and that's not happening. Again, defense first, coach Wilcox. Good luck, have fun. Great call, Cats. Great call. I love coordinator talk too. Like that's absolutely one of my favorite things is burying coordinators or lauding them as it would be. Like who doesn't love John Donovan? The John Donovan era from Washington. I love that.
It's so hard to tell who actually does stuff and who doesn't, right? Like we all know, like you said, right? Holgerson, no assistants really calling any shots there, but the impact of all these guys,
sure.
Right? So it's always interesting to hear that battle. Do we think Trayshawn Potts is the Minnesota running back?
Probably not, but I don't know. That you could say the same thing about McClellan, right? Where
yep.
Yeah, I took a shot at McClellan. Okay.
Yeah, maybe we should have drawn more guardrails regarding how we're all approaching this and try and do so uniformly to some degree. Because do we just assume the next man up is the next man up? Do we assume that there's going to be a transfer coming into supplant? I don't know, but based on what we know right now, it could be Potts, and if it is, it's gonna be awesome. So yeah,
I think we can all agree that it's more. I think it's a good tell of saying, okay, well, if we're going to take the Minnesota running back, the third round's a good spot for him. The Alabama running back, barring some amazing transfer to them, certainly worth a third round pick because it's not like Potts and McClellan are game breaking awesome players, right? Unless someone studly transfers over to one of those schools, third round feels like a good spot for him to me.
Yeah. Well, and it opens up the look what Mike did with, again, Mine Williams and Trevion in the first round. If that's worth doing, which, it certainly is defensible. I understand where he's going. Is there something wrong with doing a Trayshawn Potts, Zach Evans combo or, something along those lines? What's wrong with that? I think you could certainly justify that sort of an approach without a doubt. I mean, that's a honey hole. Get all of it.
We got a Colorado State guy in the mix this round, Andrew, and you didn't even take him.
Well, I was hoping no one would take him so that then he would have no draft ADP, and I could kind of take him later on.
Well, unfortunately for you, I'm giving this to Jared, and he's already starting ADP for 2023.
This is the truth. Jared's the best.
Jared's got to take time off too. That guy's doing too much right now. He's got to be.
You see what I just did?
Just deleted him off the sheet. It never happened. So last year we had this tight end battle, really just led by Kyle Francis, of who deserved to go first of the tight ends, Bowers and Mayer. Do we think there's a second tight end this next year? Because it doesn't feel like there's a second competing tight end at the top.
I mean, yeah, that's a tough call. I would say, in terms of the Zach Kuntzes lurking out there, like last year with his 117 targets, where it's like, oh wow, who's this Zach Kuntz guy? Everybody goes, we got to do something about him. And then, not much out of Mr. Kuntz. I would say Jatavian Sanders he will be back, correct?
Believe so.
If Jatavian Sanders is back, I think he's the 2. Maybe Caden Priestcorn would be considered somebody who would be in that 2 lanes, but Sanders is really good. And, I think that next year 3 of Sarkisian, they have Worthy on the outside, but he's a $165. Sanders is full grown, and clearly they are not afraid to go to him. I think he's the clear right now number 2 for me in terms of devastating tight ends. I would like Sanders.
The passing offense for Texas at the end of the year devolved into just screens for him. It was incredible.
Yeah.
If you had Sanders. That was it.
Yeah, it's all they could do. It seriously was like, this guy's a freak. Let's just let him try to create plays.
And the nice thing about that offense is they throw to like 3 dudes. They just throw to Worthy, Sanders, and Whittington, and then obviously some Bijan in there too.
Yeah, Rashawn dump offs. Mm-hmm.
Do we see? I feels like going through this exercise, I love 2 to 3, probably now just 2 quarterbacks, and then the rest of them feel like third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounders. Last year we had Malik Cunningham. Sam Hartman was kind of in the mix in the 3rd round. We had all these different options to go with Stroud and Young and Hooker and all those guys. It feels like the top end of the quarterbacks could be a little thin.
Well, we're going to have more turnover, I think, in the way of so many of our first 5, 6 round quarterbacks last year were guys that had proved it previously, right? I don't know if we necessarily have that this year, or maybe we just missed them when we were going through this exercise, right? But yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
If there's one guy that we did miss, but it's because we purposely excluded him, and that's Michael Penix, who's now announced that he's coming back. I will be interested to see. Imagine they run it back and we get a Dunze or McMillan or both back. That would be pretty appealing from a fantasy point of view. That is the one purposeful miss, because again, we culled what we expected guys to go. We figured Penix would go. But you're right. Once you get past the guys that we did draft, and you could argue that, Jordan Travis, really good, but is he, particularly sexy? I don't know if he really gets the blood boiling, but Jaden Delores probably got to be considered. Frank Harris is back now. He's a guy that we didn't have in. Obviously, Frank Harris in that UTSA offense. But what happens with UTSA? Is there coaching movement? He has still relatively intact, but we'll see how that develops. But other than that, SMU,
Preston Stone.
We're gonna go with Preston Stone because Mordecai's already said he's gone. Preston Stone should probably be in that conversation. He will be in that conversation. Wake Forest, Mitch Griffiths taking over. He probably will be, right?
Tennessee, Chris.
Tennessee.
Bazooka Joe.
All right, so let's do this. You think Milton's going to take it? You think Nico comes in? Nico Yamaleva, 5-star volleyball superstar, mega athletes. Do you think he takes over, Joe?
He's too young. I'm not concerned about that situation. I think Joe Milton is going to win the job easily. It's just a matter of what does he do the first 3 games. I don't think this is a situation where you see like a Klubnik come in, although he should have come in much earlier for Clemson. But I don't know. I think Milton's fine. When you're that young, it's hard for you to make an impact year 1 at quarterback.
So so difficult.
So I'm a Joe Milton guy. Where does Austin Reed have to go to make him fantasy relevant? The rumor is he goes to Louisville, which means he'd be with Brom, which would be fun. Is that enough to take him into relevancy, or is he just pure system?
I would relevancy in CFF. Yeah,
correct.
Definitely. Sure. I think that's absolutely. He was a Division II All-American, and he came out there and did just fine piloting, Arbuckle's system, which is obviously he's a direct descendant of what will be the Zach Kittley tree. And yeah, in Brom's system, as we all know. Look, I don't need to tell you guys what happens when Purdue, Jeff Brom was in town. They were top 5 in pass attempts each of the past 5 years. The top 5. I mean, they are absolutely going to be slinging in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. He's an absolute lock. You have to have him. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take a shot? He's at least a QB2. And if he's not, I'd love to see the 24 other guys that are above him that you'd rather have in Jeff Brom's system at this point, because you're not playing the Big Ten anymore either, right? This isn't Jeff Brom, Purdue going up against Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Like, sorry, those guys aren't on the schedule anymore. Now you're gonna have some fun. Other than Clemson, and probably Ohio, of course, Florida State's gonna be losing Verse. They're gonna be losing like a lot. Who really scares you for defenses? Like, give me Addison Reed. I'd be actually Addison Reed, former closer for the Chicago White Sox. Give me Austin Reed, the guy I actually drafted. Sorry about that.
So you brought up Purdue. I assume you watched the Ohio State Michigan game and you watched the Michigan Purdue games of week 13 and 14. So which of the I saw plays in both games that I've never seen before, and I want your opinion on which one was cooler. In the Michigan Ohio State, the handoff to the linebacker where he ran straight up the middle and then threw the pass instead of like going side to side, or the Maccabee fake flea flicker where he had to turn around to fake it and he doesn't know who's going to be coming through the hole at him. He could be dead. So, and it worked both worked so incredibly. So which was cooler and which was more ingenious?
Without a doubt, the flea flicker.
Agreed.
I've never seen it done. Everybody's probably wanted to do it. I don't think anyone's had the balls to do it, to hang their running back out. Maybe it gets destroyed. You're right, but beautiful. I loved it.
Brom was probably like, I know I'm out the door. So
let's try it.
Let's do it.
I think it's pretty close, but I would agree. I thought the fate in real time was I was like, holy shit, did I just see that? Like, and it worked for like 20 yards.
It's amazing.
It's funny you proposed that question, because I was about to ask you guys what was cooler, the fake slide by Kenny Pickett in the ACC championship game last year versus the flea flicker. So
I would say, I didn't like the fake slide. I thought that was like a exploitation of the rules. Cute quarterbacks are so protected anyways. Kenny Pickett, doing that. Plus, Kenny Pickett was a dick to me at the combine. So I'm going to go with that, with the Maccabee flag.
Did you make a small hands joke?
No. You know what I did? I asked him, after 3, I think I wasn't too very nice to Mr. Pickett, I guess. I was like, after 3 straight years, you threw 13 touchdowns, literally on the nose. What was it what was the signal that did it? Like, is there something? What do you attribute this incredible leap in production and whatever I said at the time to? Is it Mark Whipple coming in and modifying that whole Pitt offense and it working? What is it? And he sort of looked at me smugly. He was like, yeah, that's it. It was Whipple coming in. I was like, oh, dude. Yeah, I'm hell. Come on, fucking dick. Anyways, yeah. So.
He's from my hometown.
Really? Okay. Well,
everyone's like, yeah, he's a dickhead. Like,
oh, okay. Wow. So it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Okay, my dick dar is right on the. Oh, am I wrong? You just fucking with me right now?
When you have hands that small, you get a little insecure with that type of thing. You just become a dick because you have to be. So.
I didn't think I was being a dick. I guess I came across as one. That being said, it was my first time like being in a media scrum and asking questions of athletes. So I'll be guys. I promise I'll be way more dialed in this time. You're gonna get a lot of mustache questions like I had with Gabe Verkich. I'm gonna fucking feel my oats.
Did you ask any dumb questions?
You're gonna be in your bag.
My phone died when I had an amazing conversation with Greg Dulcich about how he looks like a cross between James Franco, Anderson Varejao, and I think it was Prince Wesley from The Princess Bride with his mustache. was like, you have an amazing look going here, Dulcich. Can you tell me a little bit about what's? And it was an exchange where Dulcich is nasty because we all knew Dulcich was going to be great. No surprise to us. I was the only person talking to him. I had like 10 minutes with Greg Dulcich. No one else talking. I'm like, nobody's talking to Greg Dulcich. What is wrong with you people? Because you understand when you're at the combine, right? I didn't understand until I went. It's just local media people asking the best things. Have you met with the Buffalo Bills? Have you met with the New York Jets? Have you met with the friggin' Carolina Panthers? And these athletes are like, what? So like then I come in, like guys like us, you guys would love it. These guys that are like our heroes for CFF, and nobody's talking to. Like Kate Otten, I practically stalked. I was so excited to talk to Kate Otten. Because he was my TE1 coming into the season, everything. And it was just great. It was geek fest time. Total geeking out because nobody actually knows anything that's asking any of those questions. Awesome. Nobody knows anything about these players. They're either just looking for team info or they're asking about, so you competitive ballroom dance in your spare time. What's that like? I'm like, Jesus, this is fluff.
This is going well. Let's pivot a little bit here. Did you see the rumor?
You don't want me to answer your question? You don't want my answer on the Kenny Pickett versus?
Oh yeah, give me the Pickett versus.
Yes. I feel strongly about this. That I have to lean, even though I think the Mockabee play is cooler. I love that they changed the rule after the Pickett slide to that you can't do it. Like anytime that you do something that forces the hand of the league to change the rule, like that sticks with me, and I think that's awesome. Like when the NFL changed the rule so Trent Richardson couldn't like lead with the crown of his helmet anymore or something, and that derailed his career. Like I don't know, that gave me somewhat of a soft spot for Trent. Like they had it out for Trent. They should have just let him keep headbutting people or whatever it was, and maybe be in the Hall of Fame at this point. But that Kenny Pickett slide's super cool. It's a good one.
Do you have the flea flicker over the linebacker running back pass? Do you have it like us, Andrew?
Yeah. I do.
Okay.
I will say to tie it up, Katz makes a great point. It's a wrestling heel move, and as the resident, obviously wrestling guy of the college community, you got to respect the channeling Roddy Piper. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Well done.
Yeah. There's a rumor out there the Texas A&M offensive coordinator could be Bobby Petrino. It's more recent. This is this afternoon thing. Froton loves it.
Yes, I do.
The reaction was classic.
Where is he at? Southwest Missouri State or something? Like they gave Missouri a run this year. Yeah, Missouri State. Like they had a nice showing for against Missouri. That would be the greatest hire of this cycle, at least, and just in terms of pure comedy. Can we get like an Odd Couple show? It's Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. That is Jimbo and Bobby Petrino. Can we get cameras in the staff? What these meeting rooms look like? That's a reality show waiting to happen. I'm behind it.
Yeah. Over under 4.5 plays called by Bobby Petrino if he takes that job. Like Jimbo's calling all those plays still, right?
Oh, it's a full cucking.
Your boy, the tailgate tent tweeted, can't imagine how excited parents are to let Petrino and Durkin be a role model for their young sons.
Yeah. Durkin and Petrino the same. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Make it happen.
Football.
Yes.
Please. Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess any final thoughts on the mock? I thought it was pretty interesting, pretty different.
How high do you think Barnes ends up going once we start doing the damn thing? Like he's going to keep
Kavorian?
Yeah, he's only going to keep going up as long as Trailer stays and we don't see anything crazy happen from a personnel perspective, right?
I mean, Sincere McCormick was like a 10 to 15th overall pick, right? So I think the same thing. I mean, the guy was insane for UTSA down the stretch.
Yeah, he looked awesome the other night against North Texas too.
And he's so blatantly better than every other guy in that room. It's not even close.
He didn't do anything stupid on the field either, just like in terms of like missing blocks or like penalties or anything. Like he like I watched dude. So I did my new favorite thing for that game. I recorded that game and what was it? The USC game going on at the same time, and put like kids go to bed, and I start getting after it, rocking drinks and shit, and then start cycling through the two games, watching one, pause, catch up the other, and then blocking the score on the bottom for myself. So I'm watching these games in tandem in like a sort of a cycle. But so I watched almost all of the UTSA game, and we got the Barnes over on rushing yards, like 10 minutes into the game or something. But that was like the quietest 180 yards I've ever seen. I didn't realize he was anywhere near that. I knew he was like around 100, and then all of a sudden he's got 180. Like that dude is gonna eat.
And great call on that Kavorian Barnes over. My gosh, what a wonderful, nice, easy catch that was. A great late season play. Well done, sir.
Well, cool. Well, appreciate you hopping on for Froton. I guess maybe one educational information piece from you, because I think we all kind of consider you and Mike to an extent the prop kings. Do you have one bit of advice or tip for those that are trying to get into it? Maybe the ones that are going to be starting on January 1?
Oh, sure. Especially if ones that are going to be starting during the bowl season. Very, very simple for bowl season. I'm sure Andrew will, another excellent mind when it comes to all this stuff will agree. Pay attention to the depth charts, as he said, when it comes to the opt-outs, when it comes to, all right, this is a depth chart that comes out. Oh, there's a coach who's having a press conference, and he said this player is going to, be focused on. Know the depth charts, know what's happening with the player movement, and that'll allow you to exploit the lines that come out, because if you're on top of this information before the lines come out, you can profit wildly, because these prop lines swing 20, 30 when it comes to especially quarterbacks, sometimes 50, 40, 50 yards. There can be differentials in lines, and it can be swings. So you can really, in a way that doesn't exist with the over-unders and the lines themselves, you can get a significant amount of closing line value if you do the advanced work. So if there's something for the bowl season, I'd say do that advanced prep and be ready when FanDuel will probably lead. So, check them out if you can. When they come out with those lines, be prepared to pounce.
Yeah, I think that's why we all kind of crushed the season long stuff, because we were doing best balls for like 5 months before. So immediately we were like, Chris Rodriguez at 1,000 yards. What are you talking about? He's not even going to play for it. Like Tyrone Tracy is the receiver one.
Tyrone Tracy?
What are we doing here? I mean,
1065 and a half? What?
Yeah.
What?
So, I think you're right on that for sure. Real quick, do you have a prediction for the national championship?
I think in terms of the value right now, like it's minus 125 on Georgia. It's tough to really, no offense to you guys, take that minus 125. I'd probably be a little more inclined to go with Michigan. It's right around plus 280, plus 300. I think that their line this year is, my God, they were so dominant over the course of those especially the last 2 weeks. I think that with Georgia losing so many players, and no offense, obviously, to Katz, I know he's going to disagree or anything, but I do think that it's hard to repeat. I like picking the trends of things changing. I don't like to be stagnant. I don't like to take the favorite. I don't think there's a lot of value there. So I'll go with trying to get a little bit of value at plus 280 with Michigan.
No real argument. I generally try not to be that dude that emotionally hedges and says and talks about how tough Georgia is going to have in a week to week. Like, first of all, this entire year has just been a party. Like, we're just celebrating, in my opinion, this past year. It's first championship for any of my teams in my lifetime. I'm soaking it in. I'm enjoying.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, my God, Katz.
I'm a Mets, Knicks, Islanders, Jets fan, and then Georgia. So this is what we got. But also, like, I can't say I was really concerned with any game this season going into it. Like, I expected us to win every game, and we have, so it's great. But I don't know how I can really be that confident going into Ohio State. Ohio State's really, really good. Just because Day doesn't know how to coach doesn't mean that when the teams get on the field, that the talent differential is great at all. That team is incredibly talented and incredibly good, and all like just the fact that they haven't looked very good in recent weeks doesn't really change all that much about that. And the idea of having to go through Ohio State and Michigan back-to-back weeks or is a lot to ask.
Yeah, especially at minus 125. I mean, that's you're the favorite and you're laying money to do it. Like, it's kind of just playing the percentages. But obviously, Georgia deserves to be the favorite.
Yeah. And regarding Ohio State, they also went for broke against Michigan in the fourth quarter. That was such a tight game. And if they didn't have every single guy in the box and Donovan Edwards just had to beat one guy, then they could have easily kept that a 3-point game. So,
and that interception, too. That interception by Stroud. Oh, that was a backbreaker.
Yep. But awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you hopping on. We've never had a guest, like we said, and it was a great time. It was a perfect situation to bring somebody on and give some perspective for next year. And hope everybody enjoyed it. And we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming on.